A state of emergency is announced as Ukraine starts an attack on Russia. There is now a state of emergency in the Kursk area of Russia because Ukrainian troops are continuing their rare attack across the border for a second day. Alexei Smirnov, who is serving as governor of the region, said that the move was needed to get rid of the effects of enemy forces coming into the region. Before, Mr. Smirnov said that thousands of people had been moved from border areas and that doctors were being called in from other towns. President Vladimir Putin had earlier said that Ukraine was causing a major provocation when it said that hundreds of troops crossed the border on Tuesday morning near the town of Sudza, which is 10 kilometers 6 miles from the border. The Kremlin also said that 11 tanks and more than 20 armored battle vehicles were with them. Since Russia began its full-scale attack in February 2022, there have been very few Ukrainian forays into Russian land. Alexei Honcharенko, a Ukrainian MP, said Wednesday night that the Ukrainian army had taken control of the Sudza gas hub. This is a big gas plant that helps move natural gas from Russia to the EU through Ukraine, which has been going on despite the war. It is the only way for Russian gas to get into the EU. The BBC hasn't confirmed this, but Mr. Honcharenko's response was the first public word from Ukraine of a move into Russian land. Reports of an attack across the border had not been responded to by Kyiv before. A spokesman for the White House said that the U.S. did not know about the attack ahead of time and that it planned to contact the Ukrainian forces to learn more about their goals. Mr. Honcharenko wrote on Facebook that he didn't know the plan behind the invasion, but that it would show Americans and Europeans that Russia can and needs to be attacked. Our goal is to beat Russia. I think we need to take their land and kill the enemy everywhere, he said. Valery Gerasimov, Russia's chief of general staff, told President Putin on TV on Wednesday afternoon that the advance into the Kursk region had been stopped and that Russian troops were continuing to destroy the enemy in areas directly adjacent to the Russian-Ukrainian border. In addition, Mr. Gerasimov said that up to 1,000 Ukrainian troops had come into the area to take over the area around the town of Sudza, and that Russian forces had already killed 100 men and hurt 215 others. Some well-known and knowledgeable pro-war telegram groups, on the other hand, said the situation on the ground was not as safe as the Kremlin said. Battles in Sudza and nearby Koronivo were called heavy by blogger Yuri Kotnuk. The situation around Sudza was continuing to deteriorate according to the channel Rybar, and Ukrainian forces were moving toward the town. These claims can't be checked by the BBC. The Russian National Guard said it had made the Kursk nuclear power plant, which is about 43 miles 70 kilometers northeast of Sudza, safer. Before the Security Council meeting in Moscow, Mr. Putin said that Ukrainian troops were firing indiscriminately at homes and buildings that belonged to civilians. Reports say that fighting happened all day Tuesday in several Russian towns. After that, Ukrainian airstrikes killed 3 people and kept going all night, according to Russian officials. Russia says that 24 people, including 6 children, have been hurt when Ukraine shelled the border area. Several air alerts were sent out for Kursk, and the city's leaders told people to stay inside and avoid going to any public events. Fighter jets were seen passing low over the area on Tuesday, according to video shared online and confirmed by the BBC. Smoke rose from some places on the ground. In the nearby area of Belgorod, Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov also warned of rocket attacks all day and said that Ukrainian airstrikes had hurt a number of people. Volodymyr Artyuk, the leader of the Ukrainian region of Sumy, told people to leave the areas that near the region of Kursk on Wednesday. A colonel in Ukraine's military named Vladislav Seleznyov told the well-known Nexta station that the attack was preventative, since about 75,000 Russian troops were still gathering near the border. Moscow made a big cross-border move into the northeastern Kharkiv region in May, and people were afraid that it would try to do the same thing in the Sumy region further north. Since Ukraine seems to have taken over a number of towns and roads going the other way, those goals may have been dashed for now. But because Ukrainian troops are already overworked and short-staffed, some military experts aren't sure if these raids across the border are a good idea. This is not the first time that fighters from Ukraine have come into Russia. Last year, some anti-Kremlin Russian groups tried to attack, but they were pushed back. In March, the troops went back into the Belgorod and Kursk areas and fought with Russian security forces there. Women in Ukraine make army camouflage nets. There is a group of Ukrainian women living in the UK who weave camouflage nets to help their army. Ukraine's community in Newcastle has been making nets since the war with Russia started in 2022. All of these nets have been sent to the front lines. The women, many of whom are past retirement age, get together to weave as a way to socialize and fight loneliness. She came from Kiev last year and said she was thankful to be able to help the soldiers back home. The women can speak their own language, sing traditional songs, and share Ukrainian food with each other while they weave. The fact that we speak the same language here brings us together, Ms. Slutenko said. We communicate, and being part of this community helps me, as I know we're going our bit to help soldiers in Ukraine. The nets were made from gardening net and fabric strips from thrift stores. They were sent as part of care packages that also had medical supplies, small gifts for kids, and knitting socks for amputees. Lizia Born, who helped set up the talks at the Polish Center in Newcastle, talked about how important the project was for both the women and Ukraine. Everyone is on their own front line, and our front line is here, she said. Being with your people and speaking your own language means that for a second you may switch off from thinking about what's going on back home.